I updated the OBS and now it's not working. So 1 and 2. Okay, check. There we go. And then this one.
Da, 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 da. 3 and 4.
There it is. Okay. All right, say something.
Check 1, 2. Check.
Okay. Technical difficulties, everyone. All right, we're going to restart here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tower Babble podcast. As always, I am Julian Mush. I'm joined by Jeremy Cozier.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about the latest in film and television news. We're back to kind of a more regular schedule and live on Twitch and YouTube today, which is always fun. It's Saturday afternoon. Missing a hockey game. Jets are playing the Blackhawks right now, but I'm not that worried about it, to be honest. There's too much to talk about for me to be concerned about the NHL. There's still so many games left in the season. Jeremy, what's new? This is episode 190. Is that impressive to you that we've done that many episodes, or it's just kind of like it's creeped up very slowly?
I thought it would be more, to be honest. Like that many
well,
years.
It has been over 5 years. We're at like 6 years, something like that. But the problem is, and it is well over 190 episodes of like individual pieces of content, which we all love. We all love that word here. But numbered episodes, not like the traditional TOB classic format, which we're doing right now, those are at 190. And those, I got to be honest, they really slowed to a trickle. We only get out a handful of those a year now, which we probably need to do a refresh or something. But I don't know. It's impressive. We're 10 episodes away. That might take a whole other year. We're 10 episodes away from 200, and once again, we have no special plans for episode 200. But we'll see as we get a little bit closer. Maybe that'll change. If you want to help support the show, you can do that by going over to Patreon, patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast. We do a monthly film club there that's exclusive to our patrons. Last month we did Donnie Darko, one of Jeremy's favorite movies. And this month we are, November, we're a couple days behind schedule, as per usual these days. But this coming episode for the film club, we're going to be doing S. Darko, which is the sequel, the direct-to-DVD sequel to Donnie Darko, that stars, surprisingly, the child actor that played the younger sister in the first movie. So neither of us have seen it yet as the time of this recording, but we're probably gonna try to watch it tomorrow. Jared, are you worried? I think I asked you this in the actual episode, but are you worried that this movie's gonna suck?
Not really. I mean, we kind of know it already does, since Donnie Darko, like the original Donnie Darko, is the only like kind of known like legacy or like cult
Yeah,
status.
that's true.
We don't like know of the next one, like
Yeah,
duology or whatever.
That's true. Yeah, but I guess you could say like the first one often gets the most praise anyway, right? Like The Matrix. Like everyone talks about The Matrix. The sequels have their defenders certainly, but like those aren't the classic film. The first one is. So, you can have a stinker for a second episode or a second installment, and the first one doesn't lose any kind of grace. So hopefully that's the case here. The worst case scenario is you see the sequel and you're like, oh no, it makes the first one worse. But but we don't know yet. Hopefully that's not the case. And Jeremy, you've also been busy with your Batmobiles. You sent me a snap the other day with maybe it was like what? It was a bag that you use for storing cables, but it's black and yellow, which is obviously Batman's colors.
Right.
And you're repurposing it for
it's a
for
bag.
Batmobile.
You can do whatever you want with it, but yeah, I mean, it's just funny how it all came together, and just the color of it, how the inside's all yellow. It just made sense with the many Batmobiles that I have.
So, did you buy the bag for that purpose though?
No.
Like, did you? No. Okay.
No, but like I bought it for. Like I try, like my style is it's very much influenced by Batman #1.
Right, obviously.
Just in general.
High end.
No,
black.
well, just black. You know what I mean?
Right, your car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this bag was designed for the car, an accessory, if you will, for the car to just organize and hold things, be prepared. You know what I mean? The Batman way.
Exactly.
But I was also ordering an RC Batmobile or two because I have some already. I also have some diecast models. And when they came in, and I just saw the Batman logo on the box plus the bag, the separation, the dividers in the bag, it just
You're
made
like,
sense to just the house all of them in there, along with my Batmobile manual, which I have, which is really cool.
wait, it's like
Um,
a book that like breaks down the how the
yeah,
car
it's a
works. And
hardcover book with every single Batmobile up until Robert Pattinson's kind of
wait, it
his
includes
Batmobile.
Robert Pattinson's
Yeah, yeah.
Batmobile.
So it's
Yeah, okay,
pictures
that's
of all
cool.
of them lined up. There's write ups, everything, every Batmobile. So it's a
What's
pretty
your favorite
cool.
Batmobile?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, they're all so
Unique.
different, unique.
Yeah.
It's definitely tough. I think the Tumbler from The Dark Knight is aged poorly.
Yeah, I'd
Even
probably
though
agree.
it was very like
Peop-
refreshing to see that and
yeah.
realistic and
hmm
just a badass machine. Um, it's also very similar to the Arkham games. They have their Batmobile.
Yeah, the Arkham the Batmobile in the Arkham games, like which evolved, like so you see it very briefly in the very first game when
Yeah, it
you
doesn't
drop
really
off
count.
Joker.
It's
Yeah.
until it's incorporated to the gameplay with the third installment.
Yeah, and it's like a tank again.
Yeah.
Which, I think people
But
just
honestly,
don't want that.
currently it is the Robert Pattinson Batmobile. I just love the aesthetic of the muscle car nature
Yeah.
of it. I love the front, how it's just this flat kind of battering ram. Like it just every piece of this realistic looking car looks completely bulletproof, everything proof, basically.
And it
Like
sounds so cool.
yes, and
Like
the
it's
sound, right?
yeah, it has a probably the best
Yeah,
sound
and it's
of any. Yeah.
a nice refreshing kind of redo of the Batmobile from its kind of um, exaggerated kind of look that
Yeah, even the
it's kind
BVS
of had.
one had more like Tumblr type of like
Yeah,
design aesthetics than I think people were at that point were probably like, are we still want the tank look
yeah.
thing?
I think they all like I think they all just fit for when they came out for what they represent. Like
Sure.
with that one, leading into Justice League and Parademons and just everything. Like I think the look of it it wouldn't make sense if it was a Robert Pattinson Batmobile.
No.
Like it wouldn't fit in there. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I like them all. Like I think they're like even the Adam West with the red
Oh,
pinstripe.
right, the dome,
You
the
know what I
little
mean?
like the yeah, that I
Like
mean
yeah,
it's got its place. For me it's the animated series, or I guess the
right.
89,
Very
because
sleek.
they're very similar, like super long for no reason. Kind of looks
Yeah,
like a jet, like or like a train.
right.
It's cool.
But then
It
I'm
doesn't
very
make
biased
sense, but
to Batman Forever with how they had the open parts on the side with the lights
hmm
to kind of showcase the silver engine in there.
that's a little
And
gaudy.
then in that movie too, it did kind of some cool stuff, right?
Is that where it like
Like it
pins
drove
to
up
the
a wall.
wall?
Yeah.
And yeah. That is cool. That is a cool move. I'm not. No one's gonna. I mean, I guess like almost every Batmobile does something cool.
Hmm.
The scale of what those cool things are very different. Like when the Batmobile in the Batman like jumps through that fire and like rams the Penguin's car. That's freaking cool. That's like really badass, right? But it's not like a gadget thing. It's just like it just was stronger. It was just a stronger car. But then like obviously the Tumbler has it can transform. It has the Bat Cycle in it, which also has its own cool sound effects. Basically, anytime you get to hear that
Yeah,
sound, yeah,
it's a super
yeah,
integral part of Batman's mythos, and I've just been obsessed with it forever. I think one of my first like toys I remember from Christmas was the Batman Forever Batmobile, but
that's
it was a
dope.
3-in-1. It was modular, so you could make it into the Batboat from the movie and the Batplane as well, or the
The Bat
Batwing,
Wing,
whatever.
yeah, that's also one of the like I mean we saw it recently in The Flash, though we don't really talk about that movie. um uh the Bat Wing in that movie is pretty cool still. I will admit, including the way that it like drops the seats below and then you can like release from there. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
cool stuff even if the movie's not
it
good.
is.
All right, so here's what we have to talk about today. We're going to talk about a few trailers have come out: Furiosa, Fallout, House of the Dragon Season 2, Aquaman: The Last Kingdom, etc. The list goes on. There's some Star Wars news. There's some Marvel news. And there's an agree or disagree segment, and I have two because the first one's a bit of a like a gimme, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the movies or shows that we've been watching, or a combination of the two, and then we'll wrap it up. So let's start with those trailers like we typically do when we have trailers to talk about. And I want to start with, Jeremy, I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but the Furiosa trailer. Have you had a chance to see that yet?
I did, yeah.
It is so badass. I mean, George Miller obviously kind of like cemented his legacy with maybe maybe the closest thing to a perfect movie in the most recent the last Mad Max, Fury Road. And it's been a while, right? And they let us know that they were going to do this Furiosa prequel movie, and we've known for a long time. And then we found out that Charlize Theron wasn't going to be involved, and they're going to recast, et cetera, et cetera. And now,
because
I guess
story.
like, sorry, say it again.
Because of the story, it's
right, because she's younger.
The setting, yeah,
right, exactly.
And I remember Charlize was kind of like, she like understood, but she was like vocal about how like disappointed she was because of how attached she got to that character, because it's pretty. I mean, it's a pretty iconic character that we're gonna see, develop, previous elements of her from before.
Well, what does it call it in the trailer? It says we're gonna witness her odyssey. How cool is that? Like just the way that the trailer opens, and it's like, okay, shit, we're back in this world, and
Anya Taylor-Joy, wow, like this is her, like she's already like pretty popular, right?
Well, she blew up with the Queen's Gambit, right?
Right.
That was her
and
big
then she got
role.
Peach in the Mario movie, even though it's just her voice, and just a very unique look. Just like with her eyes are just massive and like kind of far apart. It's a very distinct look.
Yeah.
But the line delivery, the one line that she delivers, she has in this movie, I was a little, I don't know what she says, but it just did not hit well for me. But I first saw the poster that was revealed, like that one where it's like all gold. I don't know if you saw that one. That one like blew me away. I'm like, holy cow! Like just the way she's like, it looked like a combination of, like it looked like a younger version of Charlize Theron, but I knew it was Anya Taylor-Joy as well. Like it just looked perfect.
I can't wait for this movie. When's it coming? It's like it's like early next year, right? I think.
Yeah, I don't remember. I can't wait either. I mean, it's been since 2016, right? Mad Max 1.
Well,
it's kind of almost
Fury Road.
Well, sorry, the Fury Road, but it's almost been a little bit too long, I would say. And like overall, it just seems like we're getting more of that world basically, and like the same type of visuals, but like obviously expanded a bit and like maybe more crazy. So I don't know. It doesn't seem. I'm not like. I don't know. Something about this just made my expectations a little bit more tempered.
Really, that's so wild because I went from like.
I will say the final like shot of the trailer is very iconic. Just the POV shot from below, looking up at her, and the unmasking with the robot arm, and then the text that kind of appears. Like that's very like old school, like badass like cinema that we're seeing there. So I was really sold like on that final cat moment. But when I rewatched the trailer, it just felt a little bit disjointed, but again, it's just a trailer showing some highlights, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of time for this to kind of like come into its own. And like the thing is that like this is a movie that I don't really even need to see a trailer for. Like I would go see it sight unseen at this point. Yeah, well, I don't as you know, I choose not to live the unsullied life because it's silly. But in this case, I would be willing to make an exception. But having seen this trailer, I am now like, this is my most anticipated movie. You know, for a while it was Dune.
Like, so when you've seen this trailer, do you remember any moments from this trailer, or when you think about Mad Max,
yes,
just think about
there's
the
a moment
and the cars and like the crazy stunts?
No, there's a couple things. There's a couple things. For one, there's a shot where Chris Hemsworth character, and Chris Hemsworth, by the way, doing something interesting here, very different kind of role for him
in this movie.
You don't think he? I don't think so. I don't really.
Doesn't he have like a red cape on and then like a pretty?
He does. He does have that. But I didn't like, for whatever reason it didn't. I think Thor is an attitude, less of a like. There's a look, obviously, right? But I think this is a very different type of character than Thor. At least that's the impression I got. It seems like he's doing something.
Doesn't he look pretty
different.
goofy in it, or no?
I thought he looked cool, But like, especially when he's in that like chariot, you know.
And is there
That,
another guy with a beard, and long hair, or is it all Chris
there, well,
Hemsworth?
there's Emojin Joe or whatever his name is.
Because I was getting confused over which one was which, and then I was like, is it all the same?
I think it's the same. I think it's the same guy. I think he's gonna have a large role.
Hmm.
Then the main villain is gonna be, I assume, Joe again from who was the main villain in the.
Yeah, they
in
showed him. He's just younger.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool. But so he stood out. But also there's a moment where Chris Hemsworth's character is like spilling over this edge, and he's being like rained on by like bullets. You know what I'm talking about? That was like that's a really cool visual for me.
Yeah, I have no doubt because it's Miller again. Like it's not like they took what he did, and then they got like a cheaper director to capitalize. Like
100%.
It's definitely not that. I guess just because we're going back in the story, I don't know. For some reason, that's disappointing, but it shouldn't be.
For me, right, I have no attachment to the actual world of Mad Max whatsoever. You know, like I've literally never seen the first, second, or third, like the originals, and I do want to go back and see them. You know, they have their place in history, and I should probably give them a chance. Exactly. Back when Mel Gibson. This is like when he like blew up originally. And of course, there's also the sequels, which I understand are less good, including one with Tina Turner, and like, I think the Thunderdome and all that stuff. But I want to see that because I think there's something that's worthwhile in its own way. But especially having seen Waterworld, which is its own ripoff of that concept. But I don't really like the idea that it's like 45 years after the fall, which it starts with at the beginning of this trailer. I'm like, that means nothing to me. I don't care. Like this could be said at any time during the world of Mad Max because it's all just desert, right, and car. That's like the whole aesthetic. So for me, this concept of this is like a generational. I guess we see her as a young child, and then we see her kind of, I guess, almost all the way up to the point where we see her as Charlize. So it is really almost her entire life, and we're going to get to see all that, and that like. That's what's cool about that, and the characters and how they interact, and just the rules of the world, and the way that we see the cars getting crushed by giant doors and all that stuff. That's what's cool. The actual lore of it doesn't matter.
Look pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. There's like anything that looks like a bulletproof train on wheels. Is always I'm always a big fan of that. So, yeah, I'm stoked for Mad Max. I'm a little disappointed. I kind of wish, this is a little nitpicky, but I think they could have easily just stuck with Furiosa as the title of this movie. I don't think they needed a Mad Max Saga subtitle, but I feel like that's something that's like a studio is like, no, we need to include the term Mad Max.
Yeah, Dawn of Justice.
Exactly. Dawn of Justice, is that still the worst one? Like...
Well, I don't think it's like bad. Like I think if you were gonna make a Justice League, like, or you're gonna start your thing,
right?
Dawn of Justice it's not bad. It's just like it just felt cheap and very studio-esque.
Well, there's a lot of dawns of, right? It was around that time. It was like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Well, that's also Warner Brothers, so I guess maybe we wanted to keep that kind of phrase in house.
Right, I guess we're the studio that only does Dawn movies. All right, so that's we'll talk about more about that when we get closer to that movie, but I am very stoked. Then there was also a trailer for Fallout. So this is coming from Amazon Studios. The Boys season 4 also had a trailer. Amazon doing, by the way, the Fallout trailer started with from the studio that brought you The Boys and free 2-day shipping, which I thought was stupid to include in a trailer, but this is the stupid world we live in where the company that you buy your milk from or whatever also makes your TV shows. But I am very impressed with what Amazon is doing as a streaming service because it feels like it's the one that's most insulated from all this other bullshit that's going on in all these streaming services. Like I didn't include it in the news because I'm a little sick of talking about it, but more price increases from Netflix. So Disney's going to take full control of Hulu. My CineClub membership that I pay for here through Cineplex, it's got worse. They sent me a new notification that you no longer get a 10% discount on the Cineplex store. Oh, cool, thanks for that. Price isn't going up at least.
You know we should start doing?
What?
Just sneaking into these movie theaters that have plenty of empty seats and
Oh yeah, 100%.
and let's just start doing that. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Why give
that's
them any money? But then we'd have to wait until like the premiere. We'd have to wait long after a premiere of a movie because it's all assigned seating.
I feel what you'd want to do is do the thing with this. People used to do this back in the day, but like you do like a whole day of going to see movies. So you just like you can start at one movie and then you go to the next one and then you go to the next. Like you don't leave the theater.
Oh yeah.
You pay for one movie or whatever, and then you see three. That seems good. Because I still want to see Napoleon. I did see the Marvels in theaters just recently with Kara. And you know what? Not bad, but not great is the takeaway there. But yeah, I don't know. I just my general sense of all this is that there's a lot of turmoil. Apple TV Plus is increasing its price, which seems insane because they have like 5 shows and 3 movies on that entire service. So that seems like a bit of that's a steep one. But that is to say that Amazon, because they have this other whole business that keeps them afloat, it'd be like if Google had a streaming service. They wouldn't need the streaming service to make money because they make money from ads or whatever other shit. So instead, Amazon gets to make good stuff. And I will say the other thing that Amazon does really well, their audio mix is always the best, in my opinion. Like they really nail how to do the audio mix. Netflix is always too loud. Like you'll watch something on some other service and you go watch something on Netflix and then it's always like a couple decibels louder, which is annoying. YouTube is also a little bit louder than that, which also is annoying. But Amazon, I feel like, really has the audio mix, especially if you have like a full setup. I feel like they really understand the soundscape stuff. So that's cool. But generally speaking, I've watched recently on Amazon. Obviously Gen V, which I haven't finished, but I have enjoyed what I've watched. They've done a Good Omens season 2. It's absolutely still, I haven't finished that yet either, but hilarious, great show. I've recently finished episode 4 of Invincible season 2. Jeremy, have you finished? Have you caught up with Invincible?
No.
Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. I know, and this is one of our favorite shows when it came out, like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, the first season. The first 4 episodes are out. They're doing a break, and then the rest of season 2 comes out in the early 2024. Obviously, there's The Boys. The Boys season 4 trailer just dropped, and I don't know. I mean, they've got kind of like a monopoly on this whole like what if Superman was evil concept thing going on there, but each of them feel different and unique in their own way. Like, I guess The Boys feels like that most direct analog to, hey, we're gonna Justice League and Superman specifically, whereas I feel like Invincible is more broader, like kind of all of comic books. And they kind of absorb both DC and Marvel into kind of like abstractions of that. But they're both extremely smart, well made. They know how to do smart delivery. They drop a couple episodes at the beginning, and then they do week to week, which I think is the perfect blend of a release model. They don't do I don't know if you heard, Jeremy, but Disney's going to release the Marvel What If season 2, but it's going to be every day for 10 days in a row. They're going to drop a new episode.
Yeah,
what do you think of that
idea?
A
single one from the first season.
Couldn't care.
Sorry.
Right. Well, we'll talk about that.
Talking with Vince about them like a while ago, and how excited he had like a list of like the order of his favorite ones and all this stuff, and I was excited. Like you liked it too, but like I don't know.
Yeah. Well, some of it's really good, some of it's less good. What we found out is that some of these really big time actors aren't the best voice actors, but it's fine. I'm just a big advocate for the weekly release model, as I just think it's the most pro-consumer. Well, not entirely, because I guess you could argue that dropping it all at once is the most pro-consumer move, but it's the closest thing that balances both consumer interests and studio interests, and helps generate and grow interest in a property, especially if you're into it and you want to be involved in the conversation, quote unquote, online, which has gotten worse. the online discourse just in general is just worse than it's ever been. But if you can avoid that, sorry, say that again.
Everything is getting worse.
It really does feel like that. Jeremy, remember?
worldwide
Just
wars, death.
yeah.
It's all. It's not good.
But we're having a mild winter so far, so like that's a plus, right? You gotta look for the silver lining where you can find it. Anyway, that's all to say that Fallout, which is another property that's coming from Amazon, this one is an adaptation of the video games. Jeremy, are you familiar with the Fallout video game series? Do you have an attachment to it at all?
No attachment, but I remember, like, I never had it or played it, but I remember being super, maybe not jealous, but just like excited for people who had like a 360 or whatever,
Sure.
and could just dive into this massive map and just lose themselves. And then just the legacy that game title has from like an older generation.
Yeah, it goes back to
cool.
the 90s, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just that's all I remember of it. But I didn't watch the trailer, but I saw images before the trailer, I guess, came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, holy cow, even for myself who's just seen imagery of the game, and it's pretty iconic to me, or to the gaming landscape in general, completely nailed the look.
Like the power suits and like the color palettes, and I agree.
Just how wacky it just looks insane.
Yeah, I like, for me, like, so when I think of Fallout, I think of obviously post-apocalyptic, obviously, but then there's that like whimsical kind of like cartoon, like that Fallout Boy, not Fallout Boy. There's that like cartoon character. I can't blanking on the name of it.
Yeah, it's like the Nuketown type thing.
Yeah, with like trapped in like the 40s.
It's like a family or whatever. It's like
a
for a family.
And the nuclear family kind of concept. Yeah. And it's really cool. It blends the kind of the old and the new, and the future and the past, and then it uses that concept to kind of skewer the world that we live in, which is this, you now, Jeremy, know better than anyone now, having watched Oppenheimer, that we live in this post-nuclear world, which it's hard to imagine, but we all kind of live now. Every single human being on Earth lives with this little slight idea at the back of their head that everything could go away one day if someone makes a mistake with a nuclear button. It could all end, right? And so we live with that stress every single day, and however it affects us it's hard to tell, but I feel like it does have an effect. That was kind of like my takeaway from Oppenheimer when I saw it, which is that I never really realized how much I have to think about or choose to not think, and making choices about that, about this post-nuclear world that we live in, which is kind of like always sitting on a teeter-totter, right? What's the Watchmen thing? Like, how many minutes from midnight, would you say we are? Like, are we like 2 minutes from midnight?
1 minute. I think, the doomsday clock.
Yeah. And so this concept is kind of plays with that idea. Hey, what if the world did experience a nuclear winter, and a lot of humanity hid inside these fallout shelters, hence the name, and then they emerge slowly into the world to discover that there's giant mutants everywhere, and it's Mad Max-esque in like the post-apocalyptic world where there's everything's obviously destroyed, but it's a little bit more built up than that. Like, there's more leftover civilization around. I don't know. It looks really good, like visually speaking, and like I feel like the tone might be a little dour, but I feel like it's hard to avoid in a post-apocalyptic world. So I don't know. I'm stoked. I'm gonna give it a shot. I also don't have like a big attachment to the games. I've never actually played them, but again, just like you, I've kind of like kept an eye on them from afar, and I've always appreciated it as like an idea. And then House of the Dragon Season 2, that's coming summer. First season of House of the Dragon, which is obviously the Game of Thrones spinoff, absolutely stunning. Like, great season of television. They did some interesting things with time jumps. This one's going to be much more, from a time perspective, it's going to be locked in. We're not going to be jumping forward, decades at a time. Jeremy, did you see that? This is just, I'm not going to get into this very much, but did you see that note on Twitter or whatever, or that new headline about how George R. R. Martin has like written like 10 pages for Winds of Winter, and it's kind of like, I'm kind of stuck. What What do you hear?
Well,
What
it's
do you
just
think when you
all.
hear that?
Well, it's just a meme at this point. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's always
Well,
same with like Ridley Scott. It's like okay, discussing film is tweeting about Ridley Scott, and they like paraphrased like the craziest thing that the person could say
sure.
about over top of like expectations of what we like want. And with George R. R. Martin, it's always finished writing the books. It's been that for
Yes.
like over 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's kind of brought it on himself to some degree, right? If you take that long to finish a book, people start asking lots of questions, right? So, people seemingly are coming to the kind of the concept that it may never finish, and they might have to come to terms with that, or someone else will have to finish the series for him, right? Which is something that happens every once in a while in the book world. But like, I don't know. I feel like as someone who's like obviously watched the entire show. What a disappointing finale. What a stain on that amazing series. Maybe one of the best series of all time. Um, and then you know the wish was always that he was going to get these books out in time so that they could continue to adapt them. But now it's like at this point, it's become you're right. It's become a meme because it's all that people want to know. He's now like it feels like it's kind of like put so much pressure on him that he can't figure it out, right? He's like he doesn't want to write something bad, so he's choosing to not write something at all. So I don't know. I mostly just feel for the people who are waiting for that book to come when it may never come.
But it's
So
almost like it's not even as special anymore because the show just kind of stole all the thunder of that like
sure,
IP, and that's fine. It is what it is. But like now, and then he was kind of involved with it, and he kind of let the creators know certain things. But then in his own mind, like things have shifted since the appeal of the series and everything, like and certain characters, and so it's almost affected like him and how he initially would have finished it potentially. But then
right? It's like
also it's
it has to be
cool that he
different
can,
now,
but also it's cool that he can like go over it and like and bring in all these different facets from
right?
like the show and like
Well, he knows no what
really
he
hone in.
knows what not to do now, right?
Yeah,
Like he's like, okay, well, I know not to do this specifically, or if I'm going to do this, I have to do it a slightly different way. Which again, I think it puts a lot of pressure on him. It's probably something he wasn't expecting or wasn't. When he's like, okay, well, I'll sign this TV deal and I'll keep writing the books and I'll help write some episodes and et cetera, et cetera. And now he's kind of in this. It's kind of it's lapped him to the point where it's now affecting his ability to write. And again, I mean, you know, books take a long time to write, but they probably shouldn't. I mean, the crazy thing is, this isn't even the last one. Like he has to finish this one and then another one. So, you know, like I think it might behoove you if you're a fan of these books to come to terms with the fact that George R. R. Martin might not be the one who finishes this series. It likely will finish, but it might not be him that finishes it. Okay. So anyway, House of the Dragon season 2, which is a very safe bet. That's coming summer 2024. Be excited. I'm stoked. Jeremy, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This is coming in less than a month away. Tell me where your head's at with this movie right now.
where my head is at.
Yeah, like what are you thinking about? Like what are like you've seen the trailers, they look pretty fun, I'll admit, and there was several of them in the first period of the hockey game that I saw, and it certainly builds on kind of the epicness of the first movie, which was a massive success, over $1 billion for DC at the time. It's now kind of being weighed down by some of the baggage around with DC and what the decisions they've made at Warner Brothers, etc. But standalone, as a fan of Aquaman, as a fan of what James Wan has done for especially the first movie, what do you like? What are you expecting from
it's
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom?
it's over already.
Oh
Like,
no,
what do you mean?
you don't think it doesn't stand a chance of being
No,
like
not at
not
all.
even not do you think that's purely a result of the Warner Brothers stuff, or do you think it's compounded with what's going on with Marvel and this general sense of apathy that seems to be overtaking this superhero space?
Yeah, it's a combination of all those things, but particularly the studio and what they're trying to do with their characters, and how they have kind of a stranglehold on directors, and then the shifting of the guard, and then this being old news. You know what I mean? attached to a dying kind of generation of DC
Right.
movies.
There's no like if you're like really want to know what's happening next in the DC universe, like this isn't going to give
Yeah.
you that.
And we
Right.
already knew all that, right? We
Yeah.
said, why are you even releasing this one? Like we talked about when Batgirl was shelved. It's
Sure.
like, or Shazam, like what's the
Jeremy,
point?
that takes
Like, what's the
courage. I don't
point?
know if you know, but it took
I don't know if
courage to
I don't
show.
think he said that. I think that was just
That was
that was just
paraphrased.
Yeah, that's just
Okay, maybe the exact quote is, "What content is going to help us win? The content that wasn't, we made a strategic decision on. It was difficult and painful, but it was necessary." That's from David Zaslav.
Yeah. So the thing is, the difficult and painful. He's not saying that that's on his end. That encompasses
Right.
the.
It's difficult for
creators
the
and
filmmakers.
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
It's
Sure.
difficult because there are efforts put forth together to create something, but strategically we have to delete it, and that in itself
Strategically.
is difficult because you're ignoring all the work that people did.
Right. I don't know. I mean, it's a mess, obviously, as we talked about, and we're not.
This is
We're not here to relitigate it. I'm just curious, given how close we are to the movie's release. It does look like a really good time at the movies. Like
I don't know. The trailers do absolutely nothing. We have Jason Momoa's Aquaman, holding a baby. Like there's not even a single. There's a one singular millisecond shot of Amber Heard, Queen Mara, who was, you know what I mean, like.
Well, there's a lot of drama about her too.
Yeah, but a very very cool casting originally, and then
sure,
just like that whole look and the how they were taking the Atlantean like stuff seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And then James Wan, having her in his solo movie with Aquaman, like how cool that was. And then because of the Johnny Depp and all the narratives built in social media and online, it's like we're gonna have a millisecond of the mother of the baby
I don't know.
this
I
movie,
mean,
and she's locked up for the entire movie or something like that. Like, what is going on here? This is
there's a lot of
to just get rid of the person who's acting as Mara. This doesn't serve the Aquaman legacy and the history of the characters and how they are supposed to interact in cool stories.
Sure.
Mara
No, I
be
get that.
locked up somewhere to have funny moments of a single dad throughout this movie, which is basically, I think, what's going to happen. I don't know.
Well, I mean, this obviously, like we said, there's a lot of baggage, right? And there's like, it's so much baggage that there's like baggage on top of baggage now, right? And James Wan, I think, he's got it. Like you got to feel bad for the guy, right? The guy makes good movies, right? He's a good director, talented, and he's how many reshoots did they do for this movie? Like so many. They have to go back to the tape. Yep. It's like. I would not be surprised if James Wan didn't touch a superhero movie for 10 years. If superhero movies are still a thing 10 years from now, right? Like, you have to imagine he's going to distance himself quite a bit. If I were him, I would go to A24 next. Just go and make something scary again. He's done that a lot. That's his history. So, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it would be the worst case scenario, I think, here is that despite all this, the movie's good, but it is an absolute bomb at the box office. And is just another kind of notch in that belt of failure that they've been wearing recently. So we'll see. Speaking of a belt of failure, whatever Sony's doing with their goddamn Spider-Man license is infuriating. Because Jeremy, did you see that? Did you put yourself through watching the Madam Web trailer?
No, I just saw a couple images. Skimmed through the trailer real quick.
Right.
I'm not watching this trailer.
Yeah. Everyone shared the same image of Sweeney as I guess some version of Spider-Woman or something. And
we knew of this movie. We knew,
oh man,
we knew of it. It's just now we get some visuals of it, and just
another
whatever Morbius type thing, or what's the other trailer that came and went? With,
Kraven the Hunter. Right, Kraven, holy shit. Okay, no, but this one I feel like takes it to another level. I mean, and you can also add Venom to all that list of although Venom has its own charm.
They finished filming the third installment
of Venom.
Yeah, recently.
Well, hopefully, it's better than the second installment. Let's put it that way. Do you think it'll have anything to do with that very weird post-credit scene that they included in that movie?
There's been tons of post-credit scenes.
Yeah,
there's
there's videos
online. It's like a top 10. Like
of like
well, we never
wasted.
saw that again.
Yeah.
We've never seen this thing again.
Like, do you think
Like,
do you
remember
think?
Spider-Man had that like light up Spider-Man signal thing come off of his
Oh,
left
right.
shooter?
I did forget about that. You're right.
It's like never saw that again. Or like the Scorpion guy and
Well, I think that's supposed like that might actually come about because isn't isn't Vulture in Madam Web, if I'm not, or in Craven maybe, but which is a shame because he's such a cool character and great actor and it'd be what a
oh,
waste.
Vulture just showed up in Morbius, didn't he?
Oh well, you're right. I think that's true, but he might also appear in another one.
But that
Maybe
just
I'm getting
wasn't.
my
It
confused.
just didn't feel exciting, even though it was
Yeah,
Keaton.
yeah. I don't know.
But then also the Flash, he came back as as
Right.
'89 Batman, and we don't talk about that movie.
Well, to be fair, Keaton's performance is just fine. He's putting in a
I just said it more
admirable
as a joke. I
job.
didn't mean to
Yeah.
open that up.
Yeah. But anyway, I feel like Madam Web takes it another step like backwards because the dialogue and maybe this is just the trailer and maybe the movie will be better, but the way that just the words written down on a page and then the way that
Yes.
they are delivered.
All these things are just exposing IPs that they own, and they're not. They're doing as cheaply as possible.
Oh man.
But they do a good job at getting like actors who are like somewhat big-ish or like who are just about there.
Yeah, but they're not good at this for delivering this shitty dialogue. I mean, it's like it is so stilted and like feels so forced. Like there's this one moment where like someone's talking about, oh, my father who is studying spiders in the Amazon. And it's like this is how we tie it into like it's so ridiculous. I mean, you would feel like Sony would have been like, oh man, Morbius, what a abysmal failure, but then they misinterpreted the memes about that movie and they thought that was a success, so maybe that's the problem. But there's a story
everyone just repeating people's mistakes, and Sony is just not like the whole thing with Disney and Marvel and Bob Iger and Kevin Feige with how it's all cool to attack Marvel now, and like everyone's giving their reasonings behind why it's working is super fatigue real. But like I think we've all come to an agreement that it just comes down to well-made movies or like really
exactly.
thought out stories, and like we have certain creators in the industry who are still attached to those notions, like a James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like
Yes.
it's not completely out of reach anymore. It's just these streaming services and these CEOs also needed content, and they
It's just
greenlit a lot
stale.
of characters to enhance these cinematic universes because that's what people want. But then when we get them, maybe certain demographics and age groups like junior high, high school eat up like like Suicide Squad or Morbius or like maybe
Yeah,
this
but
one.
not. But like, it's not genuine. They go to see Morbius because it's stupid and they want to be involved in the memes.
Right.
That's not.
But it's
That's
also
not a
Jared.
success.
But it's also Jared Leto, who's pretty high profile actor.
He's a bad
even if you're
actor.
annoyed by him,
He's a bad actor. He's a bad actor,
Really,
and I have a
he's
story
not a
about him
bad
later
actor.
today. He's a bad
He's
actor, man.
not a bad actor. What are you talking about?
He hasn't put
He
in a
won-
good performance in years, Jeremy.
It's not about that though. You can pick performances of his throughout the years, and they're remarkable in certain cases, especially for the one that he won Best Supporting Actor.
That's true. I
Very
mean,
heavy
that is
subject,
true. That is true.
very
That's a
crazy
good. That is fair. I
transformations.
will. You're right.
You
That is
you
fair.
get stilted a little bit by the memification of Jared Leto with the whole Suicide Squad. He sent earpieces, and he's trying to be this this auteur kind of what's the certain type of acting or whatever, like the
Yeah. The
method acting or
method
whatever. So like
acting. Yeah.
that's been kind of turned around his whole character, and I get it, but like I don't know, he's not a bad actor. I think it's a cool get. Jared Leto's Morbius.
You're thinking of Dallas Buyers Club when he won
Yes,
that
I'm
Best
thinking of
Supporting
Lord
Actor.
of War. I'm thinking of Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. It seems to me like he would behoove himself to kind of get back to that type of and he was in Blade Runner 2049, which is I think we both agree is an amazing movie.
Yeah, but
He's kind of
also
like unforgettable. He's kind of forgettable
back,
in that movie, but whatever.
back to just like the the cinematic universe of it all, and people Sony, I guess in this case, like making mistakes that they shouldn't. At the end of the day, like if they were able to just like keep making these movies and like make that certain team up movie, you would have Jared Leto's Morbius, Tom Holland's Spider Man,
Sydney Sweeney's Spider Woman,
Spider Woman, or Madame Web, but then
right?
most importantly, Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock.
Yes.
It's like a
Right.
maybe Craven in there, just a combination of it. Maybe even Kingpin from the Daredevil series,
Well,
D'Onofrio. Just an amalgamation of kind of all those into one thing
D'Onofrio's
for
working for
Sony.
Marvel proper right now. I don't know if he's going to be
Yeah, but with the
no.
whole sharing of Spider-Man, you know what I mean, that they
Yeah.
still need to
Yeah.
do, right? And then
Well, they have yet to even
they're letting
combine
Tom and Sony
Spider-Man.
do their own movies, right?
Yeah.
That's still going to be happening.
Well, speaking of which, I have a story about that. So Tom
Yeah.
Holland discusses the potential of Spider-Man 4, saying, quote, "We have been in active discussion about it. I feel very protective over Spider-Man. I won't make another movie for the sake of making another one. I will have to be worth the while of the character." So, my guess is that Sony is struggling to find a story that is capturing Tom Holland's, imagination. And if I was Tom Holland, and I'd be looking at what Sony's doing with their, with the Spider-Man IP, and I would be sweating bullets because, I mean, he doesn't have to do anything, and as he states here, he's not going to do it for the sake of just doing it. But those aren't good movies. They haven't really performed well. So, with the exception of Venom. But why would Tom Holland want to be involved with anything that Sony's doing? I don't
Well, I mean, like Amy Pascal, like he has very close relationship with
Sure.
her, and like, cause he's 50-50, right? He wasn't just like Kevin Feige's guy. Like
Bob, I
they had to
recall them
work
though.
well, that was after. They
Yeah,
had to
I know,
work
I know.
like very closely together to get that new Spider-Man movie like out.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like it was yeah.
It's still one of those like Hollywood stories that's kind of like just fun to think about, having been around and hearing the news and it changing almost every day, and then happening. Oh, the Spider-Man's coming back to the MCU and it's gonna happen, and then finding out about the whole crossover stuff. It's it very, very fun. I've no doubt there. I mean, we loved that movie
Yeah,
when it
it's
came out.
just the multiverse has just opened up just a world of possibilities. It is a gift and a curse. You know what I mean?
I
Like
think it's more
we
cursed
brought
now
back
than gift, to be fair. That's
right
my
now. I
opinion.
would agree with
Yeah.
you, but if we had an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man project in the works,
By
I
Sam
would.
Raimi.
No, not necessarily. No, Sam Raimi. No, Sam Raimi. Or no,
No, I
sorry,
know.
Andrew
Tobey
Garfield
Maguire.
and Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire, because they both did come back
Yes.
through the
Yep.
goodwill of
Yes.
Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige and their idea
Yes.
and the conversations that we don't know everything about. If there was some sort of iteration where those characters can continue and kind of cut off the multiverse and they can just do their movies, that would be cool. But there's no notion or plan of that. And then Tom Holland's sitting here being like, we're all going to do it if it fits the story and the character and all that. Well,
Right.
Kevin Feige and Marvel, they need to keep this train moving forward in terms of like the setup, right? The setup
Right.
is now stopping all momentum of the MCU or goodwill. The setup is just killing it right now.
Well, I guess,
So
like,
I
what do we
think
have
he
to look
wants a
forward to right now? That's the question, right? That's the challenge. As you mentioned, of like with the gift and the curse thing, I think the multiverse provided the ability to do these interesting concepts, the Tobey Maguires and the Andrew Garfields, and I think that's cool. But I also think that is, unless done in a smart way, and I do generally think that the way that they did it in Spider-Man: Homecoming, No Way Home, was like more better than it was worse. I think that was kind of like a well executed methodology for the multiverse. That being said, the multiverse has all sorts of problems written all over it, and the number one problem, and I've really been thinking a lot about this because they're introducing the multiverse into
when you said that
Invincible.
when you said that, I've been thinking about this a lot. Like I pictured like the montage
The
of
meme?
Oppenheimer, no, of Oppenheimer, just like his eyes open or just like
Yes.
thinking and like things in front of him and like
Right.
lasers and like
Yeah.
I just for some reason I attach it to that. Like, you've been thinking a lot lately about
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot
the
about the multiverse. Yeah. In the comics, to be clear, not the physics. And the single biggest problem with the multiverse, and by the way, the comics had to do with this. Both Marvel and DC have both had to grapple with this in their own time on the written page, and we're talking like 20, 30 years ago. And the problem is, when you have a multiverse that is unlimited, you have zero stakes. why should I care about the fate of this character if there's another version of that character right around the corner? Any moment now, another version of that character could just replace this version if this one died, right?
Yeah, but like you look at like Across the Spider-Verse or the Spider-Verse, like
Mm-hmm.
you get that grand adventure, right? Where things could go wrong, you could lose someone, and then you can't really like you're just distanced from, you can't just like open the multiverse whenever you want. Like you got to make the right choices or decisions or whatever.
Well, I think the idea
But
of
then
getting
ultimately it
lost in
comes
the multiverse is more interesting than what we have as this concept of in a single movie, the individual characters, their individual fates feel, and this is part of the multiverse of madness problem. Their individual fates. We got to see some really cool deaths from Sam Raimi, right, in that movie, but those deaths mean nothing. It's completely weightless because guess what? There's going to be another Xavier. There's going to be another Fantastic Four. There's going to be like there. It's all
yeah,
just
but
a show.
correct. But when that a movie like that comes out for Kevin Feige in the MCU, that is our kind of like Game of Thrones Sunday night red wedding
Sure,
kind of entertainment of
but
the
that had real
week.
stakes. That had real stakes. The Red Wedding had real stakes.
Yes.
And what
So I
happened
agree, and I
in
agree with
Multiverse
you.
Man didn't have that.
I agree with you. But what happened in Multiverse of Madness was pure entertainment while you're sitting there seeing this shit unfold.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you have to have a certain sense of suspension of belief or whatever, right? Same thing with the Infinity War when everyone turned to dust. Black Panther turns to
Yeah, but
dust.
that also had real
Tom Holland
stakes.
turns to dust. Yeah, but you also the notion that they're gonna just come back is
Well, we
also
knew,
there.
yeah, we knew that was true. That is
The
true.
only
We
real
did have a
stake
sense of that. Yeah.
was killing, um,
Vision.
well, no, Widow and
Right.
Iron Man.
Well,
That's
yeah.
the
Well,
only
and
real ones
Vision.
because those guys have
Yeah.
so much money. They're like, we're not going to continue doing this, and they work together to really, give it
Well,
gravity
yeah,
and
but it
weight.
took years to get to the point where we cared about Iron Man enough. I mean, this is
Yeah, but
important. I know people
it's
respond
also
this.
just RDJ, man. It's also
Well,
just
yeah,
Robert
but
Downey
they
Jr.
found a great actor to take on this role of what was a B-list character in the Marvel comics
Yes,
and
yeah.
build an entire universe on it.
No one's denying the rising of that character and the
Sure.
universe. It's just all credit is due to RDJ in that scenario. You don't have the same affinity towards Chris Hemsworth Thor or Chris Evans Cap.
Well,
It's not equal. They are like the three the big ones or whatever. But, it's just
I
not. It's
I'm
not
a
equal.
big fan of Cap and what they did with that character. I think
Yeah, I am
that
as well.
I mean, come on.
I
I
just
think
don't
that's
think.
up
I
there.
think if you swap roles with Cap dying and Tony dying, I just don't think it succeeds as well as it
Well,
did.
he kind of did in his own way, but it's like
Yeah,
I don't. It took strong performances and investment in character to get to the point
yeah.
where we cared about Avengers: Infinity War.
And then
And
look what the leaks are now, though. I don't know if we talked about it before, but it was rumors of
bringing them back.
bringing them back around the actor strike ending. Captain Marvel or Marvel's coming into theaters in a couple days. They hit hard with a couple trailers, and then the first trailer was the OG Avengers in the beginning, and then here's your Marvels trailer.
Right, it makes me so weird. It's so
Just
weird.
absolutely
It's
brutal
desperate.
and
Right.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
And then you got like the young actress in the Marvels who had her show.
Amon. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's fantastic, and everything you hear of her online is just
she knows
brilliantly said.
exactly what to say. Amon Villani.
She's dialed in. You know
She
what I mean?
n- adding to the legacy of great Canadian actors playing Marvel
Yeah.
heroes.
And there's many
Yeah,
stories of her nerding out and with Kevin Feige and like stunting him on like canon things or just like knowing
that's cool.
which Earth is this character, or that character, and she theorizes as well. Like
Well, did you hear
from
the
what I've
one where
seen,
she's
she's just
like,
brilliant.
she thinks that the MCU thinks that they're Earth 616.
Yeah, brilliant.
But that's
Just
not actually
absolutely
what's
brilliant.
which is such a
These are
what
the
it like.
stories we need to be
Yes,
hearing from the people
yes.
who are playing these superheroes in the MCU that we grew so fond of, and now
Hmm.
is just diminishing returns, I guess, while they're trying to take more money from us because they have Disney Plus shows with some of
Right.
these characters.
Well, and I think, and so Disney Plus shows have been suffering from the same concept, the same
Mhm.
challenges, the same multiverse problems
Yeah.
that the movies have. Loki season 2, which I think was pretty good, all things considered. It was very entertaining, had a great time. It established some the idea of big stakes, but could not deliver on the emotional impact of that, because there's moments where entire timelines are wiped off the earth, and that's billions of people, trillions of people, but you don't feel any impact of that. There's no, they can pay lip service to it, but yet it's just gone in a blink of an eye, and we're on to the next thing, right? So, if I was Marvel, I would be getting away from this multiverse thing as fast as I can, and like honestly, we can look forward and say
it just doesn't serve the characters.
Not at all.
It's official, maybe beneficial for a bit. Tom Holland kind of cements it there with his comments, kind of saying what everyone's thinking, while Bob Iger is getting quoted about all these different things.
So many things.
Kind of just seems a little off, or his perspective is it's just very different than we can really, I guess, comprehend on how you run a business. But as consumers, we're like, well, what are you thinking? We want this, and this. Can you just deliver, please? Can you all work together and make it happen? And we've been trusted Kevin Feige this whole time, and he's also trying to right this ship, and he's making these certain decisions too. So it's like, well, what are we doing here? But then we heard it is a major shakeup of recent, right, with the Blade stuff.
Yeah. There's one Marvel movie next year.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't literally not happened since the first Marvel movie.
We said Deadpool is going to be a return to form. You know what I mean? It's going to be it's going to hit everyone with those feels. I think just of the superhero genre, just at its peak once more. It'll be a celebratory moment during that release.
Yeah, I think so, and
it won't be a question of fatigue. There won't be a question of is this a filler movie? It's just going to be. It's going to be a major.
It's going to be a big success because there's not going to be a lot of superhero movies in the theaters next year. It's going to be one of few. It's got huge names attached to it. Characters. People care about Deadpool, care about Wolverine.
Yeah. Well, those two actors, you know what I mean? Yeah. They care about their legacy as those characters through these turbulent times.
It had to have been. Hugh Jackman, you're getting to that, which is like he had to have been.
Well, he's coming back. He doesn't want this to come. It
has to be good.
A whimper, like it's gonna be massive for him. But it's also almost like
rumors of X-23.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's that's true.
Like he's just in the gym. Like I seen a selfie video of him or whatever, and he just looked like he's giving it his all, and he's gonna obviously be in shape, but like
and you're just like this guy looks old.
Just in the eyes, it's like holy hell, he's just been trapped in this.
It's funny when the actors talk about like the workout regime and especially Paul Rudd.
I think working out was great. Like you're not killing yourself if you're working.
No, I know. It's like oh, I'm sorry. Your life is going to be improved. Your health and life is going to be improved by having to do this and have a personal trainer,
your eyes are all
nutritionist
while you're like working out because it's just like you're in pain, but no pain, no gain is the thing. Right? So.
Right. Well, exactly. Pain and Gain, great movie. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. I think that movie, for the record, they still have a trump card left. Marvel does, which is the X-Men, right?
Fantastic Four is first up, and
but I don't think people give a shit about the Fantastic Four. Right, Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, it's either the most inspired or uninspired, and I can't decide which one.
Really, I'm also kind of on the fence. Actually, that's fair because I saw it, and my first reaction wasn't like, "Oh shit." They cast really? Pedro Pascal
because he is the it guy. Like he should have been the sexiest man alive.
But he's a great actor. That's the
I think actor,
that's the ticket.
He just been a great actor for so long, like since like 20
since Game of Thrones,
2018. Yeah,
basically. It's
then
wild.
Then he had Wonder Woman 84, even though that was kind of a.
Hey man, he puts in a very impressive performance in that movie.
And then obviously The Last of Us, a video game adaptation, which kind of like never before done in terms of like having Druckmann.
It's weird. He's gonna have so much time to film movies in this, even though he's making season 2 of The Last of Us. So weird.
But
I don't know. I saw that one. I stole that joke.
I think it's just, I think it leaned towards the uninspired just because it's just such an easy like, okay, who's big right now? Who's hot? You need an
anchor.
Now?
You need an anchor though.
Yeah.
Like obviously, we saw Joseph Kosinski to play the role. in that multiverse moment in
Krasinski.
Multiverse of Madness. What did I say?
I don't know. I don't even know if you said his name at all correctly. You said like
Joseph.
Joseph Kaczynski or
Is
something.
that not his name?
I don't know. I think that's I think it's
Anyway.
off.
Anyway, we saw him play the guy from The Office. Play character, and this was a fan casting, and everyone was excited about it, but like kind of like landed with a thud. And you know, the Marvel's first family, etc. I think to Marvel, Fantastic Four is a big deal, but I think to most regular people, I think Fantastic Four is not a big deal. That's just, I mean, this is totally anecdotal. It's my sense of things, but I don't think that the core audience of the MCU is chomping at the bit for Fantastic Four. What do you is that your where do you come down there?
I don't know. I just know that Kevin Feige is a huge fan of the characters.
Well, yeah,
Obviously has his um his history working with Sony and like kind of those OG super movies, right? I'm pretty sure, or Fox
yeah,
too.
yep,
Pretty sure to some capacity he's been a part of all those movies. So that's really cool, and that kind of lended towards the multiverse and how you utilize the older actors like Willem Dafoe
yes.
or um, bringing Otto back. What's his name?
Yeah, I don't remember, but
I'm asking you, but
let's yeah, don't never ask me for a
um,
name. Are you kidding me?
yeah. So
Yeah,
okay, I lost my point because I'm going all over
we were talking about
all over
the
the
for
place.
Marvel's first
Oh
family,
yeah, so
Feige.
I'm just
Yeah,
excited that they're excited about the characters, and I think during this kind of tumultuous time of the brand of the MCU, I think now more than ever they really need to nail it. So on one hand, it's a little disappointing that we get in this casting and like it seems so strategic, but also he's a phenomenal actor.
exactly.
Um, it just just yeah, just make us care about these characters if you think that's not the case. But I've always thought they're a cool corner of Marvel. I think you can really separate like there's key separations with Marvel, right? Like you have
Fantastic Four,
like
X Men, Avengers.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like to me, the entry point is like Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic
Mm-hmm.
Four. Then you got Avengers
Yes.
with team ups. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm excited for it for sure, especially with that reboot that tried to happen and that was kind of a no go. So it's almost like you have to get it
Yeah,
right this
that
time.
one's that one was such a disaster on so many levels. That's
Yeah.
so wild to think about. It's like completely absent from my brain at this point. And I do think about the original ones, and I think about how like we
Yeah,
got Chris
those are
Evans.
kind of I guess as people maybe people are yearning for more of it because those have been shared more and more as we've been discussing leaks
They're
and
kind of
rumors of
fun.
casting.
They've got problems, but they're fun.
Yeah.
That's what
Well, it
I
just
think
fits
that
into
makes
that
them work.
energy of those Fox superhero X-Men
Hundred
movies
percent. Yeah.
plus Spider-Man. So it's like, and I've been yearning for that feel for a while, and that's kind of why I've been updating my Blu-ray or 4K collection with some of those movies just to kind of dive into those again and
Sure.
just relive that epicness that I don't really feel like Tom
It's missing
Holland, the
from the
whole Tom
SU.
Holland
Yeah.
Spider-Man, like it's just not quite as equal to me, and that could be biased, but just to kind of where it started. But I don't think it is. Maybe a little bit, but
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think time will
those have
tell with
obviously aged better, like the Spider-Man ones,
yeah.
obviously.
So I think just kind of putting a bow on it. So
Yeah,
I think that, as I said before, MCU would behoove themselves to uh, get away from the multiverse as quickly as possible. And it seems like it's pretty obvious that they're going to use the multiverse or the collapse of the multiverse to bring X-Men into the main MCU, right? That looks like it's kind of like a foregone conclusion at this point. If it doesn't play out that way, I'll eat my hat. But it's like we've been talking about how do they make it work? How do they make it work? It's like it's so obvious now, especially after Marvels, and this is spoilers for the post-credit scene, which has been shared widely on Twitter. But obviously, Kelsey Grammer's Beast appears. Love Kelsey Grammer as Beast. I don't that is like inspired casting,
that's
always has
inspired.
been.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah,
brilliant casting. That
it's so
I was
good.
definitely off put by when it was like first announced, like that way back for X-Men 3 Last Stand.
Yeah,
But just the look they gave him. And then honestly, I'm a fan of the look here because it's obviously
it's
super
cool.
comic accurate, but you
Yes.
can still kind of see him in there, and it's also kind of like that Mark Ruffalo Hulk type stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I, in my ideal Marvel kind of world, Beast and Hulk kind of have a similar texture, or feel, or
Sure.
size. You know what I mean? So I like how I can stand those two beside each other, whereas you couldn't really stand like the makeup Kelsey Grammer
Well,
piece
yeah, and
next
also he's
to
much
the
older
CGI
now,
one.
so
Yeah,
that would be harder to do. I mean, yeah, I mean, and I'm, there's a Kelsey Grammer renaissance going on because Frasier's back,
Frasier's back. Wow,
and man, I'm gonna be
unbelievable.
honest, I've been dabbling in the new Frasier, and I did watch Frasier when I was a kid, but like mostly just because it was on after school,
Yeah,
so
that is not geared
and it was
towards
just not
kids.
really, it wasn't really targeted at me, and so I never really like appreciated it in a
It's
kind of
also a
like a.
spiritual successor to Cheers because
Yes,
it's the
it's
same
like a
character.
spin-off of a spin-off.
Yeah, like
It's
how
yeah,
Joey had his little spin-off there for a bit,
which no
which
one
we all
talks about.
remember.
No, we don't talk about that. But I'm really digging Frasier. I think it's so like this guy that's so snooty that he's up his own butt so much is so funny. And then when you bring that kind of like,
But he's like cute about it, right? Like,
well, yeah, kind of. Well, there's kind of like there's I don't know. It's a sitcom, so it's got kind of some kind of standard sitcom-y stuff to it. But he just brings this charm to this idea of this kind of like high class gentleman concept. And then they play. That's like the crux of the humor, and it like totally works because he doesn't relate with regular people.
yeah, that's the cute
And
part. I
yeah,
guess I'm kind of referring to as.
yeah. And so that mentality brought into Beast is just like a perfect marriage of that, and it really works with like the X-Men '97 stuff. Which, man, that show can't come fast enough. Like, can we?
Oof.
When is that coming? Because I am
I
ready.
already bought a bunch of merch from it already.
Oh, man, I'm stoked.
They
I'm
have
so freaking excited.
I bought they have like this X Jet, but it's abysmal once you get out of the box and like it doesn't really do much,
Oh man, that
especially
sucks.
compared to my
The
X
original.
Jet of the well from the first movie.
Oh yeah, it's not the original, but that yeah
And then
from
I have
X-Men.
I need Wolverine and Rogue of like the main line action figures that they have, but those are sold out everywhere
Well, yeah, Wolverine's
or at
tough.
stores.
Ro-
Yeah, that one's cool too
Rogue,
because it comes with
interesting.
multiple heads, and one of the head has the cowl like draped at the back, kind of like
Oh,
how
that's cool. That's always the
Batman would be.
coolest
Yeah,
look.
yeah,
The cowl around the back of the
yeah,
neck is always the
yeah.
coolest. Yeah,
There's
hundred
also
percent.
a McFarlane DC Multiverse Flash one that has a second head with the Flash cowl draped around the neck, and it's cool too because that one you can see the two yellow wings or whatever
Mm,
on the side of it.
right.
Um,
The lightning
and then
bolts.
I
Yeah.
got some retractable like claws glove things you can wear that are officially from the show. Like they're just
Oh,
for little kids or whatever.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it can't come fast enough, and the X-Men might be the solution for what ails MCU, but they have to make it work. They have to earn it. So, all right. So a couple quick stories here. Speaking of Disney and Marvel, so Bob Iger has been in the press a lot lately. He had a couple comments. One was about sequels. Echoes very much what Tom Holland said, which is said that they've basically released too many sequels of late. And moving forward, quote, "We will only greenlight a sequel if we believe the story that the creators want to tell is worth telling." And call me cynical, but I just don't believe anything that Bob Iger says really anymore, because this is the guy who, as soon as he came back in the job, greenlit things like Toy Story 5 and Inside Out 2 and like a whole bunch of sequels and more live action remakes of Marvel or Disney properties that no one has asked for. So I guess he's saying all the right things, but I'll believe it when I see it, I think, on that front. And then he also went on to say, and I don't know if this was in the same interview or not, but he also went on to say that their creators at Disney have lost sight of what their job should be, which is to entertain first, not messages, which this did not go over well, at least on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, you go ahead. I don't know. Look at a tweet I saw that I thought was
He went
hilarious.
on to add that stories infused with, quote, positive messages for the world, unquote, which is such a insane rich person thing to say, can be great, but it shouldn't be their primary job, which sounds a lot like when people say, go woke, go broke, and just in a more kind of dressed up in a suit. And I just couldn't
Stories,
disagree with him more about on this
stories with
point.
positive messages for the world can be great, but that it shouldn't be the primary job.
Yeah,
Like
that
that's crazy. And
it,
then
it
so someone quote tweeted that and they said, "That's why I love the two biggest movies this year in Oppenheimer and Barbie. They didn't have any messages or politics in them. Just were there to entertain and tell us about feminism, nuclear disarmament, and Senate hearings."
That's see exactly, and then it's I mean it's low hanging fruit in terms of like Twitter snark, but it's kind of like you earned it for saying that because it just it's pandering to the lowest common denominator, which is that people don't just want to be entertained. They don't want to be. They don't want to be. They don't want to have a message. But the truth is, the best movies do have a message, but they are also entertaining, and that the message is also crucial to the story having weight. Because if it doesn't, if it's just a Transformers 2 that has nothing to say, you know,
Well, maybe not Transformers 2, but maybe Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
well, that's another good example of something that has nothing to say. But there's a lot of movies that have nothing to say. And
Ways to
like
sell
I
it.
I would even say I would even argue that Marvel's, which I think should have more to say, has almost nothing. It does have some messaging, but it's largely lacking in a cohesive kind of core idea, concept, message. You know, right? We talk about this all the time when we come out of a movie and it's like it just feels a little weightless. It's because it has it's crucial for storytelling. You know, these are all allegories, right? All these stories we tell. We love storytelling because it gives us insight into the world, right? No one gives a shit about a story that gives you no insight into the world, or into. It doesn't have to be the world, into a person, into an idea. Those things matter, and the idea that no, it's about entertainment first is such a lazy thing to say from Disney. It's so disappointing to hear. It couldn't be further from the truth. And then when you blend it with this idea that the stories have to be worthwhile, we're not going to greenlight sequels just for the sake of sequels. It just sounds like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth, and he has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. So, you know, he's not quite reached the David Zaslav level of kind of like, wow, what a. Yes, Zaslav was never popular, but Iger was, and he's on this steep decline in terms of like people's appreciation and understanding of what he's trying to accomplish at this job, because he came out of retirement to quote unquote save Disney, and has in that process has, I think, I wouldn't say made it worse, but it's certainly not helping. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on this?
No, not really. I mean, I remember he had a book that came out during the right time, so I guess he made a bunch of money off that book too. I'm just remembering.
Well, it's now seems even that book seems even sillier now in retrospect, because it was all about how he kind of like shepherded Disney, and now he's back, but it's not working. So I don't know. And then lastly, for Disney stuff, a fun rumor, which is that Sam Raimi apparently is one of the top contenders for the directing job of Avengers: Kang Dynasty and Avengers: Secret Wars, after Destin Daniel Cretton got dropped from the directing job recently. So we'll see. I don't know if he's the right guy for that, to be honest. I really do like Sam Raimi, but I don't know if him trying to do Avengers and all that stuff is going to work in the way that Disney needs those movies to work. They might just be a little bit too weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? Yes or no to that job?
To which job?
To the directing, for Sam Raimi directing Avengers movies.
Oh, that's a yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Time will tell. We'll see. All right. Let's jump quickly to an agree or disagree segment.
We gotta wrap up here.
Right. Okay. So, easy one. Chris Nolan on Martin Scorsese's comments about superhero films. Should be. There's no way you disagree with this, but we'll see. Quote: established titles can assure a return in audiences and give people more of what they want. I can't do a good Chris Nolan, by the way. He has such a perfect British accent. It's really hard to
just don't try
imitate. Anyway, and it pays for a lot of other films to be made. So the superhero movies make money so that other better movies can be made, according to him. But there's also a need to be respectful of the audience's desire for something new. A healthy ecosystem in Hollywood is about a balance between those two things. This is in an interview with AP. Any reason to disagree with that comment?
None whatsoever. It's just it's spot on.
Chris Nolan, every time he has anything to say about the
The
state
best.
of the movie industry, has the most insightful, thoughtful, and often, I think, most correct statements on these things. It's very impressive. Like, he's kind of like batting 1,000 on that stuff right now.
Yeah, and he's one of those creators, artists. You have to just let him do his thing. And throughout his career, he's he's been afforded that ability, I guess, and now more than ever. Like, look at Oppenheimer. I don't know, to make the amount of money it did for 4K
100%.
disc to be sold out. It's astonishing, but also not after you've seen it, after you've seen the
Oh yeah,
performances. It's like you just sink yourself into that movie, and it is horrific. It is incredible.
it's
It's just it's
insightful.
yeah, and
Yeah,
like all these things maybe going in, but like once the images kind of or the music, I should say, kind of sucks you in and keeps you in there. It is just astonishing. The thought process that one goes through while seeing all these things unfold, and seeing especially Killian just
killing
completely
it. Killian is killing
kill
it.
it,
Yeah,
kill it.
yeah.
It's astonishing, really. Like he just amazed me. Just like everyone was saying, like, I just, oh no, it can't be true. It's like, no,
It's unbelievable.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I had the luxury of seeing it in 70 millimeter IMAX, and for me, it's this what weighs on me about the movie, what I still think about and probably will think about for the rest of my life, is the weight that these individual people, these human beings, were carrying on themselves, knowing that what they were doing could change the world for the worse. Right? They describe it the simple idea that, well, they know that developing the bomb, it may or may not be the right thing, but they know that the Nazis can't have it, right? So they have to do it. And you can, moralize that all you want about how or what would have been the right thing to do, but to know that what you were doing had these kind of like humanity altering, like there's so few moments in the world, like the human history, that carry as much weight, and that weight was all sitting on the shoulders of like a handful of people, you know.
Yeah.
Specifically, obviously, Oppenheimer, the titular character, but really all the scientists that were involved in the Manhattan Project. And like, it just comes through, like the weight of it just comes through so well. And then when you see it in IMAX, where it's larger than life, it's a harrowing experience. I'm not in like chomping at the bit to go see that movie again, anytime soon, but it is wild. And like, the people that are involved, like at this time, just like these names, right? Like freaking Einstein, like and the German scientist whose name is escaping me now, but the Hindenburg.
Dieter from Army of the Dead or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, like these names that we've heard, and that have come synonymous with death or all these things, but these are just human beings just doing the work, and then like the emotional fallout of that, pardon the pun. Oh, absolutely! What, like a story that had to be told by like a which I'm sure it's been told a million times, but like by a true,
it's just riveting the way it bounces back and forth between like the trials, like after, and then like the beginnings of signing on to it. It's just like, how can you not just be sucked in to witness history? You know what I mean?
Well, and to treat someone of this magnitude in such a way after the fact, in this way that the world almost, or at least maybe the United States, almost had this sense of guilt about, and it's like embodied in all these people who are indicting this man, who won the war for all intents and purposes, but changed the world in all other ways, and to just treat them with such disrespect, it's just like it's infuriating, which is why RDJ has such a thankless job in that movie, but does such a good job with it, right?
Everyone, like even Matt Damon. Holy cow!
Oh, I know. Yes,
Jeez
exactly.
Louise, Matt Damon.
I really liked young Han Solo. What's his name?
Yeah. Just
he
so
had
at ease the whole time. Like what? Like
his final, but like the way that he just, because it's almost as if he understood like things at another level, and like his final, the final word.
What's his final word?
His final line about how like I can't remember. He like uses RDJ's line back on him at the end, and like it's that, like when RDJ finds out that he's losing or has lost kind of the vote, and it's just this like kind of like pitiful but also snarky, but also kind of like weighty. I just again,
Well, they had
I
a great back
yeah
and forth in terms of like strategy, right? Even though
yes,
young Han Solo, that was his kind of thing. And then, like you said, it always felt like he knew something more than we did, and like to me, it also seemed like maybe he's like hiding something like on purpose. But
Alden
I just love that.
Ehrenreich.
I just love,
Yeah,
yeah. I just love that dynamic. And I saw an interview where he was praising RDJ, just couldn't believe the um the preparation from
yeah.
an A-list all star. He said it like he put faith back into, like it instilled back into him, like after basically creating a relationship with RDJ,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was pretty cool.
They like took him under his wing and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
it's like everything about that. It looked like it was an absolutely like brilliant place to work, and like what an amazing cast. Like
Mhm.
every time a new character comes in, it's like, oh, they're here, and like they're all on the screen for like barely at all. Um, I don't know. I think it's a great movie. It's a brilliant movie. It'd be interesting to see where I don't know where it'll fall on my list in terms of like top movies of the year. We'll think about that as we get into the end of the year, obviously. But it's very high. I love. I'm glad you got a lot out of it. Um, quick thoughts on Hobbit: The Unexpected Journey, a movie that you've waited decades to watch.
Uh, well, that's the thing. I think it's cool. Maybe I'll save my thoughts on it because I got to leave right away. But
Okay.
I will say, um, very cool. I feel like I've time traveled in terms of the notion that I set forth before the release of these movies, which was the conversation of like I'm not gonna watch part one if there's three,
I
or like
distinctly remember
initially,
you saying that.
yeah,
Yes.
or like
Yeah.
maybe there was only two at the time, but then they, oh no, we're doing three.
It
I was
was
like, this is
one, then it was
crazy.
two, and then it was three. Yeah, it was
Yeah, and
wild.
then I was like,
Yeah.
well, like I really like that world. I read that book specifically when I was younger. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
really get into the mainline book, maybe because it was just so daunting how big
It's
the three were.
huge. Yeah.
Hobbit's very tiny. It's very doable, even though the English is a little weird because it was made in like I don't even know, like in the 40s or something was it
Well, when he
published?
originally wrote it, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the
maybe
30s,
earlier.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's and after just recently rewatching the original trilogy extended on 4K and just kind of really soaking that world up again,
Mm-hmm.
the world of Hollywood at the time, Peter Jackson with directing, acting, just creating these Hollywood epics. I just really engulfing myself in that. It was very rewarding, kind of starting this Hobbit trilogy all at once, and then realizing that Peter Jackson is the director, and
Right.
it's like all the same feels, but it's like, yeah, it's like the story before, like the big end game story, but like
Sure.
it's just so cool to see Gandalf back in action. The
He's so good in it
music,
too. It's so
yeah,
effortlessly great
hmm
as Gandalf. Like he just that first scene when they arrive at like in Hobbiton and they've got all the like
yes.
it's so cool.
But
I yeah.
they remade Hobbiton like better than it was before because the last one had to get torn down. Seeing that Elijah Wood got to come back, like
Mm-hmm.
that just must be amazing for the actors at this time. And I just think that for someone like me who kind of wrote off the trilogy just in kind of in a smarmy way, like, oh, they're just trying to,
It
make
did feel
bank.
like a cash grab. It doesn't need to be three
It's
movies.
just like now,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it is so freaking awesome that we have a Hobbit trilogy to accompany the beloved,
Did you
legendary, timeless Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I agree with that as a sentiment. Did you bounce off the visuals of it, like that 120 hertz or 120 frame look?
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy. I thought it was cool. Like none of the CG so far has really like taken me out of it. Some of it definitely is better than in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so that's
Oh,
kind of
that's
cool to
true.
see.
Yeah.
Kind of cool to see it progress a little bit. Um, but it's obviously like the first movie isn't very like it's. I just can't wait to watch the next two. Like
Yeah, I mean,
maybe later tonight, I can't wait to watch the second one.
I need to get into. Kara's never seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies, so I feel like I almost like. Do you think start with Lord of the Ring, like The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings? Where do we start? What do you think?
Oh, Hobbit. Oh,
Okay,
sorry, Lord of the Rings.
start with Lord of the Rings and then go back to The
Oh,
Hobbit.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
You're starting
And
with Frodo, Sam, the hobbits in,
it's hard to beat.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The music, the introduction of Aragorn,
Strider.
at the Strider at the
Yeah.
prancing pony.
So
Um,
I've been watching a lot of like lore videos about Tolkien's world. Fascinating stuff. So I kind of feel like and it's really nice to like put on and just relax to someone talking about like the lore of Lord of the Rings, and so I usually put that on like before bed and then just like kind of chill out. So now I have kind of like this kind of whole other kind of like knowledge base to like build on to go back and watch these movies. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited, and you know what, Jeremy, I'm excited for you that you got. I didn't love those movies when they came out, but I think they're worth a probably revisit. So
Yeah. So yeah.
okay.
That's it.
All right. So in that case, then we'll hold on a couple things. I want to talk about. I watched the Harry Potter, the fourth movie, The Goblet of Fire. Probably the worst movie in the trilogy in the series. I haven't seen the rest of them in a long, long time.
Remember
so I
when
can't
I
say
said
for
there's
sure.
no point in watching the rest?
I do, but I just can't believe
Jeremy was right again.
the steep, like it's like a cliff, Jeremy. Like we go from the third one, the fourth one is so bad, and it's not just that it's like a bad made movie. It's fine. It's well enough made, but the story is so brutal, and the plot holes become so massive that you find yourself just like looking at this movie and being like, "What the fuck is happening here?"
Yeah, at that point, we're just kind of like celebrating that we're in the middle of the world of Harry Potter and like little kind of adventures are happening, but they're not exciting or.
It feels so dumb. Like honestly, like the Triwizard Tournament. I'm not going to get into it now, but it is stupid, and it makes the whole. And then Voldemort comes back out of nowhere, and it's so weightless that it couldn't. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. I also want to talk about Invincible season 2. Scavenger's Reign is a great TV show that I just finished recently watching, and Blue Eye Samurai, which is a new show on Netflix. All I want to talk about, but we'll wait till next episode to do that. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Tower Babblecast on Twitter, Facebook.com/Tower Babblecast, and head over to the website towerbabble.ca. And if you want to help support the show, Patreon.com/Tower Babblecast, where for as little as a couple bucks a month, you can get our exclusive film club episodes. We're going to be doing S. Darko for the month of November. We're a little bit behind, but look for that. And then this for December, we'll be doing some Christmas movies. So stay tuned for that as well. Until then, we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right.
All righty.